Let me say good afternoon to everyone. Councilmember, good to see you. And Ms. Braziel, good to see you. Let me say, as I indicated to you on yesterday, we did not present or produce the videos on yesterday because we wanted the family to have an opportunity to see the videos first, out of respect for the family. And I know this morning, Ms. Braziel had an opportunity to see as much of the videos that she wanted to see. I think she saw some, but elected not to see all of it. And Ms. Braziel is here today. And again, out of respect for the family, I've made another decision, and that is that what's important to me is to make sure that the public get the information for them to be able to see it and be able to see that on this particular incident, that Ms. Braziel did have a gun. And to hear from the body cam itself, the voice coming from one of the community persons, acknowledging the fact that he did have a gun. That is what is important. And that's the reason why I'm taking this particular step to produce all of the videos that we have in our possession so that people can see that we're being very transparent. And quite frankly, I don't want any police officer shot at or killed, and the fact that the community and the police must work hand in hand together. That is what is very, very important to me. And that's the reason why I've made the decision to release the footage. I've also made the decision, and I was going to play all of the videos at this particular point in time. But I've elected, out of respect for the family and the fact that Ms. Braziel is here, I am not going to do that. I am simply going to release the video to you, and you can pull up the video online. And so, is it available? Yes. You can pull it up online, and then if you have any questions, you certainly can talk to me at any point in time. Okay? So, are there any questions from the media? Any questions? Yes.
Give us a little bit of the backstory of why officers were there in the area and the initial approach with Mr. Braziel. What led up to that moment?
Well,
I can answer that.
sorry.
I can answer that. My name is Dwayne Reddy. I'm captain of the Homicide Division, and those officers were in their assigned area on regular patrol, not responding to a call for service when they confronted Mr. Braziel in the middle of the street. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor, can
Yes.
you give us the URL where these videos can be found?
The videos can be found.
It's the HoustonPolice.org YouTube channel.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk a little bit about body camera footage in general and how it's going to be handled by the city. I understand it's case by case, but would you explain that a little further?
This is in view of the exigent circumstances that exist, with things that are happening all over the country right now, and with the level of uneasiness and tension in the air. I thought it was in everyone's best interest, and the best interest of the security of this city and the protection of the community as well as police officers to make this footage available, especially by virtue of what was being put out online, that this was Ms. Braziel had his arms up, unarmed, and then was shot by police. That narrative is untrue, and so that is the reason I've made this decision to release all the videos at this time. I can't speak for what's going to happen next time.
Investigate one more time. Can you just explain, to follow up a little bit, how the initial approach escalated into the shooting? Can you give us any details of how it went from they weren't even out there on a call for service to how it ended up dead?
Yes, the question was, can I explain a little bit about the initial interaction? Is that what you're asking? What I can tell you is what's been released before. The officers were in their assigned area on their regular duties when they confronted Mr. Braziel. They initially thought that he might have been flagging them down, and they didn't know what he needed because of the time of day. And it wasn't until they put the lights on him and saw the gun in his hand that they detected an immediate threat to their own safety. Yes.
Now that you've seen the video and you've also watched the video with Mr. Braziel's family, how does it make you feel? Do you feel like it helped in speaking with them? And
Well, I think it helps in putting out what actually occurred and it helps establishing what the facts actually are. It certainly debunk what has been put out on social media, that this was an unarmed person, Mr. Braziel, with no weapon in his hand. The videos will speak for themselves. I don't need to editorialize on that. They speak for themselves. What is also evident is that when you will hear the voice from the body cam, from one of the people who knew Mr. Braziel, who lived in the community, who acknowledged the fact that he had a gun. That's not coming from the police officers, that's coming from the person in the neighborhood. And so I think I can't make up the facts. The facts are what they are, okay? And no matter how we may try to fit them in a particular narrative, the reality is this was not a case of an unarmed person that was shot down by the police. Now, do I regret a shooting occurred of any kind? Anybody loss of life? Absolutely. But I do think, and I think most will agree, that if you're holding up a gun at 1238 in the middle of the Cullen Street, and if you're turning around and you point it, the results, are not going to be good.
You mentioned yesterday the possibility of Mr. Braziel being under the influence, but you did not elaborate. We had heard reports that there was some sort of substance found on his person. Can you confirm that? And if so, where specifically was that substance?
The investigation continues. The major reason why I am producing these videos is to establish the fact that he did have a gun, that it was there, and that one of the people in the community acknowledged the fact that he did have the gun. With respect to everything else, I'll allow the investigation to proceed.
Considering that the climate of the country right now and the fact that we begin
Yes.
rolling out these body cameras, do you anticipate releasing more videos like this, when there are more police shootings?
I've made it very clear this is for this case and this case only by virtue of the exigent circumstances that exist. State law does govern the release of body cams, okay? But so this is for this particular case based on the exigent circumstances and the fact that we certainly want to be transparent and want to establish goodwill with people in the community. And what is very important to me and what has brought me to this point, when there are 5 police officers who are dead in Dallas, 3 that are dead in Baton Rouge, others that have been injured, I don't want a single police officer shot at or hurt based on erroneous information. I don't want the community to be reluctant to work with law enforcement because there's this distrust factor. The community and the police must work hand in hand, okay? We both need each other. We are not on opposite teams, okay? And so that's why, by virtue of the circumstances that exist in this country at this particular time, that this is being done. Can't speak for what may happen tomorrow or next month or next year. My hope is that we won't be faced with these situations. But this is where we are, and this is for this particular case, and I can't speak and won't speak for what happens next time.
What is
And
the
hopefully
status?
hopefully there won't be a next time. Okay, that's my hope.
What is the status of the officers who were involved in the shooting?
Normally, what happens when officers are involved in these type of shootings, they go through psychological evaluation. They also have to have meetings with the Critical Incident Review Board. Once those procedures are completed and they're found to be healthy, and they are released back to their patrol services or whatever services they have. Now, sometimes they may ask to work the desk or do something else for a time period, and we honor that.
Mayor, can we just follow up? Because we talked to the Braziel family earlier, and they told us that the video shows that he was shot 10 times. Can you talk about how many shots were fired and your message to the family where obviously they don't feel this was justified? They feel like this was officers overreacting.
What is clearly evident is that Mr. Braziel is walking from the side street onto Cullen at about 12:38 a.m. Mr. Braziel is walking onto Cullen with a gun in his hand. He turns around, he points it in the direction of the police officers. When you do that, at that time of morning, with a gun in your hand, you're not going to have a good outcome. I think most will agree to that. There is no question that the gun is there, and it's acknowledged by one of the people in the community that knew him, and his voice is on the recording. Okay. There were multiple times, but that's not. Let's make sure that we focus. There shouldn't have been one time. If you don't have a gun, if you don't point it at the police, there's not going to be one time. Okay? It's not going to be one time. Right. Okay.
Mayor Turner, I had a question about whether the officers involved can be identified yet.
I'm sorry?
Can they be identified?
Well, the investigation is ongoing. And again, what I want to emphasize is that when you have false narratives on social media, it's important for the safety of police officers as well as for the community and the relationship between the two for that information to be disseminated. That is the purpose for this release, and we'll allow the investigation itself to proceed.
Normally, the procedure for the Houston Police Department is we do release the names of the officers, and that has already occurred.
It's Officer Lopez and Officer Messias, but I'd have to get with you on the correct spelling. We'll provide that. Matter of fact, John, if you will, make that available to them. It'll be available through our Media Relations Office.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.